Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. My name is Samuel. I was supposed to marry Amber in 3 weeks. Everything looked perfect on paper. A beautiful venue was booked. Invitations had been sent. Caterer confirmed the final menu. My calendar was filled with reminders, payments, and calls from vendors. I had covered most of the costs without complaint. Venue, cake, music, decorations, transportation. The bills came to me and I paid them. Amber had big dreams about what she wanted. I told myself it was worth it to see her happy. That was the role I had stepped into without much thought. Provider, fixer, support system. Nothing about the situation felt alarming at the time. It just felt like responsibility. That weekend, Amber went to a lake house with her bridesmaids for a small bachelorette trip. Her best friend Chloe planned everything. They picked an expensive place. I helped cover it again. Amber promised she would video call me that night to show me around. "You deserve to see where your money is going," she joked before leaving. I laughed with her. When my phone finally rang, her face filled the screen. She wore a silk robe, a glass of champagne in her hand. "Samuel, this place is unreal," she said, turning the camera toward the water reflecting the evening lights. "Thank you for all of this. Seriously, I don't know how I got so lucky." For 2 minutes, everything looked normal. She smiled. Her voice sounded warm. I smiled back. Then the screen suddenly went black. I waited for the call to end. It didn't. And that's when I heard her again, this time speaking to Chloe. Her voice changed. Low, honest, unfiltered. "I can't believe I'm actually stuck with him for life." I stayed completely still. My thumb hovered over the screen, but I didn't touch anything. The line remained open. Then Chloe's voice came through the speaker. "Stuck? You make it sound like prison," she said. Amber let out a soft, careless laugh. "It kind of is, but at least this prison comes with money, stability, and a nice neighborhood," she replied. "If I'm going to be tied down, it might as well be to someone who can give me a comfortable life." My breathing slowed. I didn't want to miss a word. "You don't even like him like that," another voice added. "I don't hate him," Amber said. "He's safe, predictable. He will never leave. That's worth a lot. And once we're married, his paycheck becomes our retirement plan." She paused. "Plus, I'm sitting on cards he doesn't know about. A little debt disappears once everything is shared." Chloe lowered her voice. "Does he know how bad the numbers are?" "Of course not," Amber said. "Why stress him now? After the wedding it won't matter. It becomes his problem too." Another girl spoke up. "And your job?" Amber sighed like it bored her. "I won't last long there. Once the honeymoon is over, I'll quit. I'll just act worn out, overwhelmed. He'll understand. He always does. He'll take care of it." A pause. "You're lucky he's loyal," Chloe added. "I don't need lucky," Amber replied. "I need stable. He's like insurance. You don't desire insurance, but you feel safe having it." That was when I pressed unmute. "If that's how you see me," I said calmly, "the policy ends tonight." Silence slammed into the call. I could hear her breathing. Then Amber shouted my name. Panic rushed into her voice, cracking through the speaker like broken glass. "How long have you been there?" she demanded. "Long enough," I answered, "and longer than you ever deserved." Nobody spoke for a moment. Then chaos broke loose. Amber's voice cut through the noise, sharp and shaking. "Samuel, wait. You don't understand. We were just talking. We were joking. Please don't do anything right now." "I understand very clearly," I replied. Chloe tried to take control. "You're blowing this out of proportion. This is a private moment. You shouldn't have been listening." "I didn't listen on purpose," I said. "Your friend didn't end the call." Amber's breathing turned uneven. "Okay, but you can't make decisions like this over some stupid words. Let's talk when I get back. Let's do this in person." "There is nothing left to discuss," I answered. I reached for my laptop and set it on the kitchen counter. My phone stayed on speaker so every voice on that lake house weekend could hear what was about to happen. I called the wedding venue first. "Yes, this is Samuel Carter," I said. "I'm canceling the reservation for the third Saturday of next month." The coordinator paused. "Sir, there is a cancellation fee." "I'm aware. Process it." Amber began to cry on the other end of the line. "Please stop. You're doing this in front of everybody." "Good," I said quietly. "Now everyone hears it." I ended that call and immediately dialed the travel agency. Honeymoon reservation under the same name, I said. Cancel it. Non-refundable deposit, sir. Proceed anyway. I could hear someone try to calm Amber in the background. Her sobs had turned into pleading. Samuel, I love you. I didn't mean it that way. You know me. You know my humor. I know exactly who you are, I replied. Then I dialed her parents. Terry answered first. Hey, Samuel. Everything all right? The wedding is called off, I said. Your daughter admitted she is marrying me for stability, hiding debt, and planning to leave her job without telling me. Silence. Then Gia's voice entered, sharp, angry. How dare you humiliate her like this? Your daughter did that herself, I answered evenly. I ended the call. I locked my phone. The apartment went quiet. The ring on the counter caught the light. 3 years of planning collapsed into one still moment. There was a knock the next morning. Not a polite one. It was fast, sharp, desperate. I already knew who stood on the other side of the door. Amber. When I opened it, she looked nothing like the woman from the screen the night before. Her hair was tangled. Her eyes were swollen. Her clothes looked like they had been slept in. Chloe stood beside her, arms crossed, jaw tight. Please, Amber said immediately. Just let me talk. I stepped aside once, only once. They entered the apartment in silence. I was drunk, she said, words spilling out quickly. Everyone was saying stupid things. I tried to fit in. I exaggerated. That's all it was. I looked at her. You said you were stuck. You said I was a safety net. You said you were hiding debt. Which part did you exaggerate? She hesitated. That was the answer. I didn't mean for it to come out like that, she whispered. Did you plan to leave your job? I asked. Another delay. Longer this time. Eventually, she admitted. Chloe stepped forward. You're acting like this is a crime. People think about security all the time in relationships. I thought about partnership, I replied. That's different. Amber walked closer, hands trembling as she reached for me. 3 years, Samuel. That has to count for something. It does, I said, stepping back. It counts as the reason I won't ignore the truth. Her breath broke. Tears dropped onto the floor. The wedding is not happening, I continued. I will handle the property side of things. You will collect your items by the end of the week. After that, we are finished. Chloe scoffed, shaking her head. You're throwing everything away over words. No, I said. I'm protecting myself from the future your friend planned without me. Amber's voice dropped to a whisper. I really did love you. Then you wouldn't have treated me like a contract, I replied. I opened the door. They stood there for a moment. Then Amber stepped out. Chloe followed. The door closed solidly behind them. For the first time since the call, my space felt clear. The messages started an hour later. First came Chloe, then an aunt, then a cousin I had met only once. Each line carried the same accusation in a different shape. I was heartless. I was cruel. I was ruining her future. I silenced every number without answering. Silence felt cleaner than debate. By afternoon, the situation moved into a new territory. My office receptionist called. Samuel, there's a woman asking for you. She says it's urgent. I stepped into the lobby and found Gia standing near the front desk, perfectly dressed, eyes sharp with anger. People stared. You will speak with my daughter and a counselor, she said. Right now. This is a business building, I replied calmly. You shouldn't be here. You embarrassed my family in front of strangers, she snapped. You will fix this. I didn't lie, I said. Amber described how she planned to use me. I listened. Her lips tightened. Every woman thinks of safety. Then your daughter should marry safety without lying to it. Gia raised her voice higher. A security guard approached, uncomfortable. Please escort her out, I said. She isn't an employee or client. Gia looked at me once more before being guided toward the door. You will regret this, she called. I turned back to work and didn't reply. That evening, a mutual friend called out of concern. She quit her position today, he said. She thought everything would still go forward. Now her supervisor filled the spot. She has no income. Later that night, a message arrived from a legal firm. Amber was considering compensation for distress and expenses. I forwarded it to my cousin Michael, an attorney. She has nothing, he replied. You were deceived. No contract was completed. Ignore it. The threat faded within a day. She didn't lose a partner. She lost a plan. The day that was supposed to belong to vows and music arrived with silence instead. I didn't put on a suit. I didn't look at the empty calendar. I met my friend Daniel and my brother Mark at the dock before noon. We rented a small fishing boat and headed into open water. No speeches, no memories, no questions. Just movement. Halfway across the lake, my phone vibrated. Unknown number. Against instinct, I answered. "Where are you?" Amber asked. Her voice was thin, worn out. "On the water," I said. "I'm sitting outside the venue," she continued. "Another couple is setting up. White flowers. Same chairs you picked." A pause. "That should have been us." "You made sure it wasn't." "I made one mistake," she cried. "One night. 3 years should mean more than one conversation." "It meant enough for you to plan a life around my money without telling me," I replied. A long breath filled the line. "My parents barely speak to me. People whisper. I had to move back home. I don't even recognize my life anymore." "You recognized it just fine when you thought you owned it," I said. She went quiet. When she spoke again, the tone changed. "I need help," she whispered. "Just for a while. Rent, bills, something to get me through until I find another job." "You don't need help," I answered. "You need accountability. You were going to take care of me anyway." "I was going to take care of my wife," I corrected, "not someone who calculated their way into my future." Her voice cracked into desperation. "So, that's it? I lose everything?" "You gave it away," I replied. I ended the call before another word arrived. The boat moved forward, and for the first time, it felt like I was moving too. A month passed without disruption. Amber stayed quiet. The rumor cycle cooled down. Gia stopped posting her bitter quotes. Terry stayed distant from the situation. Silence replaced chaos. I went back to routine. Mornings started in calm. Work demanded focus again. Evenings felt clear in a way they had not before. The apartment required change. I removed the couch she chose. I replaced the paintings she insisted on. It no longer carried her voice in the corners. The ring went back to the jeweler. I accepted less than I paid for it. Part of the amount cleared the few remaining shared costs. Another portion went to a local program that helped young adults manage finances responsibly. It felt right to give uncertainty a better purpose. Daniel kept checking in. Mark stopped by randomly. People didn't treat me like a man who lost something. They treated me like a man who avoided something worse. One evening, I sat on the balcony and looked out at the street below. Life continued without permission. I thought about the moment her voice came through the phone, detached, careless, calling it being stuck. That single word changed my direction. I wasn't trapped in a lie anymore. A message arrived from one of Amber's cousins. Just one line. "Some of us know you didn't do anything wrong." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The story had already closed itself. Amber said she felt stuck. She believed a life built on comfort would be enough. She thought stability meant love. She thought silence meant agreement. She was wrong. Being stuck would have been standing at that altar. Being stuck would have been watching years pass with resentment hiding behind a smile. She said she was trapped with me. The truth was simple. I was the one who got free. 6 weeks after the lake trip, I ran into Chloe at a grocery store near my apartment. She looked surprised to see me, less defiant than before, almost careful with her words. "You look better than I expected," she said. "I feel better than I expected," I replied. She nodded, glancing down the aisle. "Amber isn't doing great." "That was always going to happen," I said. "Life doesn't stay still when the truth comes out." "She's working 2 part-time shifts now," Chloe continued. "One at a cafe, another at a small shop. Gia won't talk to her unless it's about bills. Terry barely looks at her. She finally admitted she crossed a line." "She crossed several," I answered. "She thought security meant happiness," Chloe said quietly. "She thought if she locked in a future, everything else would follow." "Security built on lies collapses fast," I said. "It always does." Chloe studied me for a moment. "She never thought you'd walk away. She thought you'd stay, no matter what." "That was the plan," I replied. "That's why she chose me." A small silence settled between us. "You're different now," she said. "I'm more honest with myself," I answered. That was the last time I spoke with anyone connected to that part of my life. Later that night, I sat in the same chair where I'd first heard her say she felt stuck. The room was quiet, but not empty. I thought about the words she chose, how casual they had sounded, how much damage they were meant to hide. Can't believe I'm stuck with him for life. She thought I was a sentence, believed I was an obligation, saw me as a tool to build the future she wanted without effort. Instead, that sentence became my release. I wasn't stuck that night. I was handed a truth most men never get before the altar. Not everyone is lucky enough to hear the lie before it becomes a vow. And for that, I felt nothing but gratitude. The power never came from revenge. It came from choosing myself, walking away in calm and never looking back. That was the real beginning, not the end. Thank you for watching.